Mizuto and Yume were good friends and spent a lot of time together. One sunny afternoon, Yume approached Mizuto and asked him where he was heading to. Mizuto smiled mischievously and replied that he was right back at her. Curious about Yume's plans, Mizuto returned the question and asked her where she was heading to. Before Yume could respond, their mother entered the room, noticing their conversation. She assumed that both of them were about to leave and expressed her delight. Their mother shared that a little bird had informed her that Yume loved reading and often visited the bookstore on Karasubi Street or the library. Therefore, she concluded that the two of them must be heading to one of those places. Yume blushed and tried to play down the situation, urging her mother to stop assuming things. However, their mother's excitement was contagious, and she turned her attention to Mizuto. Trusting him to take care of Yume, she emphasized that she believed in him. Mizuto nodded confidently and assured her that he would indeed take care of his friend. Their mother then encouraged them to get along and enjoy their time together. Yume happily bid her mother farewell, expressing her gratitude for the well wishes. With a smile, their mother left the house, leaving Mizuto and Yume to embark on their adventure. As soon as their mother left, Yume's voice changed and she confronted Mizuto about why he had agreed with their mother's assumption. Mizuto sighed and explained that he felt compelled to agree because their mother hadn't given him any other choice. Yume's frustration was evident as she questioned why she had to tag along with someone like him. Feeling a surge of annoyance, Mizuto fired back, expressing his own discontent. He told Yume that he didn't want her tagging along either, emphasizing his desire for independence. Yume's face contorted with anger, and she retorted, expressing her long-standing dissatisfaction with Mizuto's passivity. In a heated moment, she even called him a stupid geek. Mizuto's eyes flashed with resentment, and he couldn't hold back any longer. He retaliated by telling Yume that he always hated how selfish she was, his words biting with a touch of spite. He called her a stupid nerd, their harsh words reflecting the frustration and tension that had built up over time. In the evening, the atmosphere in the house was filled with warmth and contentment as Mizuto, Yume, and their parents gathered around the dinner table. The family enjoyed a delicious meal together, savoring each bite and engaging in cheerful conversation. Mizuto and Yume expressed their gratitude to their parents for the wonderful food, appreciating their efforts to make the evening special. Once the meal was finished, Mizuto and Yume took the initiative to clear the table. Carrying their dishes to the basin, they stood side by side, ready to wash them together. Their father observed their collaboration and couldn't help but smile. He expressed his joy at seeing them getting along with each other. Reflecting on the circumstances that brought them together, their father acknowledged that having step-siblings of the opposite sex at their age might have raised some concerns in the past. However, he admitted that nowadays such things aren't as significant as they once seemed. He scratched his head, realizing that he had worried unnecessarily. Their mother chimed in, emphasizing that families come in all shapes and sizes in the modern world. She stressed that just because Mizuto and Yume were step-siblings, it didn't mean they shouldn't get along or form a bond as a family. She believed that love, understanding, and mutual respect were the foundations of any harmonious relationship. Yume gently tapped Mizuto on the shoulder and asked if he understood what she meant. Confused, Mizuto responded with a puzzled expression, asking her to clarify. Yume insisted that they shouldn't let anything upset them, suggesting that they should let go of their earlier argument. Mizuto nodded in agreement, understanding the importance of maintaining a harmonious atmosphere. With a touch of seriousness, Mizuto assured Yume that he was well aware of the need to keep their disagreements private. He promised her that he would keep what had happened between them to himself, emphasizing that he would take it to his grave. Yume's face softened, appreciating Mizuto's understanding and commitment to their bond. She responded to him, saying, "Excellent." However, Mizuto couldn't resist a playful remark. He glanced at Yume and teasingly commented on her sudden display of authority. He questioned when she had become so bossy, lightheartedly poking fun at her. Yume playfully rolled her eyes, maintaining the playful banter by suggesting that if she had changed, it was undoubtedly his fault. Her words carried a hint of mischievousness, indicating that she was merely teasing him. Intrigued, Mizuto raised an eyebrow, expressing curiosity about her statement. He couldn't help but wonder what he had done to bring about this change in her. Yume, with a playful smile, responded with a hint of sarcasm, asking if he had a problem with her newfound assertiveness. Mizuto was engrossed in the tranquility of the bookstore, absorbed in the pages of a captivating book. As he immersed himself in the fictional world, Yume's abrupt arrival disrupted his concentration. Sensing her frustration, Mizuto looked up, concerned, and inquired if something was wrong. Yume, clearly exasperated, expressed her growing discontent. She vented her feelings about Mizuto, casually calling her by her given name, as if it held no significance to their newfound familial bond. Mizuto, slightly taken aback, countered that she addressed him by his given name as well. However, Yume retorted that it was different for her. She felt that using her given name served as a constant reminder of her past and wished for something that better reflected their current relationship. Intrigued by her suggestion, Mizuto probed further, asking Yume what she proposed he call her instead. A mischievous smile crossed Yume's face as she responded with conviction. It was obvious to her. She told him that he should address her as Oni-chan. Puzzled, Mizuto responded with a questioning "huh," seeking clarification. She told him that they are siblings now, so addressing her as his older sister makes perfect sense. Mizuto told her to hold it there. He said he was the older brother here. Mizuto, slightly puzzled, replied by recalling their shared birthday on November 3rd. He pointed out that they were both born on the same day, making them the same age. He asked Yume if he was right about that. Yume acknowledged the shared birth date, but countered that there was more to consider. She emphasized the importance of the time of birth. Mizuto, now curious, questioned the significance of the time of birth in determining their ages. Yume revealed that she had consulted Minaaki-san, who is Mizuto's father, seeking an outside opinion to settle the matter. According to her conversation with Minaaki-san, Yume was born at 11:04 a.m., while Mizuto was born at 11:34 a.m. Yume stated that she was born 30 minutes earlier than Mizuto, establishing herself as the older sibling. She asked Mizuto if he was following her reasoning. Mizuto, trying to find another angle, mentioned the ancient belief in Japan that considered the firstborn twin to be younger. Yume swiftly turned her back to him, dismissing his comparison and stating that they were not twins. Yume chuckled at Mizuto's confusion and elaborated on her idea. She explained that since they had become like siblings, it made perfect sense for him to address her as his older sister. Yume believed that the title Oni-chan would signify the bond they shared and the protective role she played in his life. Mizuto, still trying to grasp the concept, chuckled and shook his head. He told Yume to hold it there, pointing out that he was, in fact, the older brother. He argued that the Oni-chan title should be his to claim. The two engaged in it back and forth, each trying to assert their position as the older sibling. Their exchange showcased the determined nature of their interactions. Yume, armed with evidence from the time of their births, sought to establish her position as the older sibling. Mizuto, inquisitive and open-minded, attempted to challenge her claim by drawing parallels to historical beliefs. Mizuto and Yume found themselves caught in a heated exchange, each adamantly claiming to be older sibling. Frustrated with their argument, Mizuto suggested they simply go along with society's perception and accept the premise that the firstborn is the eldest. Yume, however, was not easily convinced. She saw through Mizuto's attempt to deceive her and questioned his intentions. Unwilling to back down, Mizuto dismissed Yume's doubts and declared himself the older sibling, believing that settled the matter. Yume, feeling a mix of indignation and unease at the thought of being Mizuto's younger sister, raised her voice in protest. She vehemently stated that she would rather be the older sibling and found the idea of being his little sister unsettling. The tension between them escalated as their voices grew louder. They glared at each other, their anger filling the space between them. Realizing that their argument was getting them nowhere, Mizuto interrupted the heated exchange. He suggested that they settle their differences in a more constructive and playful manner, through a game. Yume, reluctantly agreeing with Mizuto's suggestion, acknowledged that resolving their dispute with the game made sense. After pondering for a moment, she proposed a solution. Since they had accepted the need to conceal their previous relationship and conform to the norms of step-siblings, they should act like any normal step-siblings would. With the decision made, Yume and Mizuto embarked on a new dynamic, driven by a set of rules that would determine their perceived roles as step-siblings. Yume suggested that their behavior as step-siblings should be in line with societal expectations, and any slip-up would result in the offender being considered the younger sibling. The first one to act in a manner deemed unnatural for step-siblings would lose the competition. Yume explained that the sense of competition arising from this rule would motivate them to better conceal their past relationship. By adhering to the rules, they would create an environment that resembled a typical step-sibling relationship. The intensity of the competition would keep them on their toes and push them to act in ways that aligned with their new roles. Curious about the extent of these rules, Yume asked Mizuto if they applied even when their parents weren't around. Mizuto affirmed that the rules were applicable at all times. Yume emphasized that any slip-up would count even in the absence of their parents. This added another layer of challenge to their game, ensuring that they were consistently conscious of their behavior and interactions. Mizuto, recognizing the importance of fairness in their competition, suggested that sudden death would serve no purpose. Instead, they agreed that the winner would have the authority to decide how the younger sibling would display their role reversal each time. This arrangement added a touch of creativity and allowed the winner to express their victory in a way that suited their individual preferences. As the days went by, Yume and Mizuto engaged in their step-sibling competition. They observed each other closely, constantly on the lookout for any slip-ups that could determine the outcome of their game. Their interactions became a delicate dance, with each trying to outperform the other while maintaining the facade of a normal step-sibling relationship. Yume, with a mischievous smile on her face, clapped her hands to signal the start of their game. Ignoring Mizuto's confusion and attempts to stop her, she proceeded to the bookshelf in the bookstore. Mizuto, taken aback by her sudden actions, couldn't comprehend her intentions. Sensing his bewilderment, Yume interpreted his reaction as a sign that he was finally grasping the true nature of the rules she had laid out. In her mind, she felt a sense of satisfaction, realizing that Mizuto was starting to understand the depth of their competition and the challenges it presented. Mizuto, on the other hand, felt a surge of frustration. He realized that the rules Yume had proposed were designed to provoke him, to test his limits, and to see if he could maintain composure in the face of irritation. He realized that any reaction that deviated from the expectations of a normal step-sibling relationship would be considered unnatural. It dawned on him that Yume had intentionally created this game to get under his skin. Unable to contain his exasperation, Mizuto voiced his discontent. He called Yume a stupid girl and criticized her for suggesting such twisted and manipulative rules. As Yume stood in front of Mizuto's drawer, her hand hovering over it, she hesitated for a moment. Mizuto's words echoed in her mind, tugging at her heartstrings. She saw the sincerity and vulnerability in his eyes, and it struck a chord within her. Mizuto's plea for forgiveness and his willingness to make amends stirred a whirlwind of emotions in Yume. She had always been stubborn, holding on to past grudges, but deep down she longed for a peaceful relationship with her stepbrother. She looked at Mizuto, her surprise gradually transforming into a mix of curiosity, hope, and uncertainty. In that moment, the weight of their previous conflicts and misunderstandings suddenly fell heavy on Yume's shoulders. Mizuto's heartfelt words reminded her of the bond they shared in the past and the importance of moving past their differences. It was a pivotal moment, and Yume realized that holding on to resentment would only hinder their growth as a family. Tears welled up in Yume's eyes as she found the strength to respond using Mizuto's given name, Erido-kun. Mizuto's smile broadened, mirroring the genuine happiness he felt inside. It caught Yume's subtle change in addressing him, and it symbolized a significant shift in their relationship. He smiled and told her that she was out of the game. Yume's curiosity got the better of her as she questioned why she was also considered out in their game. Mizuto chuckled softly, touched by her genuine interest in understanding their dynamics. He explained that wanting to bear the hatchet and seek reconciliation was not exclusive to their game, but something that real siblings would naturally do. Yume's regretful expression revealed a mix of disappointment and frustration as she realized that Mizuto had outsmarted her in their game. Mizuto, on the other hand, wore a satisfied smile, reveling in his victory. He playfully teased Yume about her attempt to challenge him, claiming that their tastes and abilities as mystery enthusiasts were not on the same level. Yume's reminiscence of their past interactions and the changes in Mizuto's behavior struck a chord with him. He understood her feelings and acknowledged that he had indeed changed. Mizuto gently patted her head, a gesture of comfort and reassurance, and apologized for his behavior. In that moment, he affectionately called her Oni, acknowledging their unique bond as step-siblings. However, Yume's reaction was a mixture of frustration and admiration for Mizuto's ability to switch gears and playfully tease her one moment, then apologize sincerely the next. She raised her voice, expressing her exasperation at his ability to flip-flop in his actions and emotions. Yume's words echoed with a mixture of annoyance and a deep-rooted affection for her stepbrother. Feeling hurt, Yume decided to distance herself from the room, needing some time to gather her thoughts and process the emotions that bubbled within her. As she left, the room seemed filled with a bittersweet atmosphere, a mixture of unresolved tension and the glimmer of hope for a better understanding between them. In the days that followed, Mizuto took the initiative to reflect on his actions and the impact they had on Yume. He realized that their journey to building a stronger relationship would require patience, understanding, and consistent effort from both sides. Mizuto made a conscious effort to bridge the gap between them, seeking opportunities for heartfelt conversations and shared activities. He acknowledged Yume's passion for mysteries and began involving her in discussions, recommending books and movies that they could enjoy together. Slowly but surely, their shared love for mysteries became a platform for them to bond, share ideas, and create cherished memories. Yume, in turn, recognized Mizuto's efforts and saw glimpses of the caring and considerate brother she had always longed for. The wounds of the past began to heal as they both learned to communicate their feelings more openly and honestly, addressing the issues that had caused tension between them. The next morning, as Mizuto and Yume prepared for school, their parents complimented them on their appearance, noting how wonderful they looked. Yume couldn't help but express her frustration, remarking that it would have been easier if they attended the same school. Her parents, however, encouraged them to make the most of their situation and squeezed them closer together for a family photo. As they posed for the picture, Yume and Mizuto found themselves standing side by side, their shoulders touching. The camera captured a genuine smile on their faces, reflecting a newfound sense of unity. In that moment, they realized that pretending to be strangers or maintaining a formal distance was no longer necessary. Yume turned to Mizuto and acknowledged the undeniable fact that they were not only step-siblings but also classmates sharing the same surname. The realization brought a sense of relief and acceptance. They understood that embracing their shared identity and forging a genuine bond was the best way to navigate their unique circumstances. In the bustling classroom of Rakuro Private High School, Mizuto and Yume sat among their fellow students, eagerly awaiting the day's activities. Yume turned to Mizuto with a mischievous glint in her eyes and informed him of her plan to start walking to school separately. Mizuto nodded, understanding her desire for independence and personal growth. Curiosity piqued, Mizuto questioned Yume's decision, suggesting that she should focus on making friends instead. He reminded her that high school was a fresh start, a chance to redefine herself and leave behind any preconceived notions from her past as a self-proclaimed nerd. Yoon, however, assured him that she had a secret weapon up her sleeve, leaving him intrigued and eager to witness her transformation. As the morning announcements began to echo through the school speakers, the entire student body was called to the opening ceremony. Excitement filled the air as the students made their way to the auditorium, finding their designated seats and eagerly anticipating what the day had in store for them. The ceremony commenced with the principal's warm welcome speech, emphasizing the importance of unity, personal growth, and embracing new opportunities. As the principal spoke, Yoon's mind raced with excitement, fueled by her determination to make the most of her high school debut. After the principal's speech, a sense of anticipation lingered in the auditorium as the students waited for their turn to introduce themselves. It was time for the open address, an opportunity for each student to step onto the stage, share a bit about themselves, and leave an impression on their peers. Yoon's heart fluttered with a mixture of nervousness and excitement as she stood in line preparing to take her turn on stage. She had carefully prepared her introduction, determined to leave behind the image of a shy and introverted student. When her name was called, she confidently walked up to the stage, the spotlight illuminating her radiant smile. Addressing her fellow students, Yoon introduced herself with a newfound sense of confidence. She shared her passions, interests, and aspirations, all while exuding a vibrant energy that captivated the audience. As she spoke, Yoon's words resonated with many students, sparking curiosity and admiration for her boldness and self-assurance. As the group of girls approached Yoon, their voices filled with admiration, they praised her for her confident stage presence and how cool she seemed during her introduction. Yoon modestly replied that their perception was not entirely accurate, admitting that she was a nervous wreck on the inside. The girls chuckled understandingly, appreciating her honesty and vulnerability. Just then, another announcement resonated through the school speakers, calling for Yoon to deliver a word as the first-year representative. Startled by the sudden call, Yoon quickly responded that she was coming. She gathered her notes, took a deep breath, and made her way to the front of the assembly. Yoon stood in front of her fellow students, the paper containing her address clutched tightly in her hands. As she looked out at the expectant faces before her, a mix of excitement and nervousness coursed through her veins. This was her moment to shine, to share her thoughts and emotions with those who had gathered to listen. She began her address with a captivating introduction, her words flowing effortlessly as she spoke eloquently about the breathtaking beauty of the cherry blossoms. Yoon painted a vivid picture of delicate petals in shades of pink and white, their gentle dance in the breeze and the ethereal fragrance that filled the air. The audience was captivated and transported to the enchanting world of springtime. In a lighthearted moment, Yoon turned her attention to Musito, a fellow student who had been chosen as the representative alongside her. With a mischievous smile, she teasingly remarked that he must have aced the entrance exam to secure such a prestigious position. Her playful tone drew laughter from their friends, who knew well that Yoon herself was a dedicated and diligent student. In her next words, Yoon acknowledged the tireless efforts she had put into her studies, the countless hours spent poring over textbooks and diligently completing assignments. She spoke of the sleepless nights and early mornings, driven by her determination to succeed. Yoon's friends nodded knowingly, remembering the times they had seen her studying late into the night, fueled by her passion for learning. Yoon took a deep breath, her confession hanging in the air. Despite her best efforts, she admitted that she still felt the weight of academic pressure lingering within her. She acknowledged that while she had dedicated herself to her studies, she didn't always feel completely free from the expectations and standards set by others. It was a vulnerable moment for her as she bared her insecurities and shared her inner struggles with her friends. The girls surrounding Yoon commended her for her hard work and dedication. They acknowledged the countless hours she had spent studying, the sacrifices she had made, and the commitment she had shown to her academic pursuits. They reassured her that her efforts had not gone unnoticed and that she was indeed a capable and intelligent student. Meanwhile, Musito listened to Yoon's confession, his thoughts wandering to his own academic journey. He had always been diligent and committed to his studies, that he couldn't help but marvel at how Yoon managed to achieve better grades than him. He admired her intelligence and ability to excel academically, wondering what factors may have contributed to her success. Musito's mind was filled with questions, contemplating whether it was her study methods, natural aptitude, or perhaps something he hadn't considered that propelled her ahead. As the students were lost in their thoughts, the classroom door swung open, and their teacher entered with a clap of his hands, instantly capturing their attention. The room fell into hushed anticipation as they took their seats, eager to absorb the knowledge and guidance that awaited them during the orientation session. The teacher's presence brought a sense of structure and purpose, reminding the students of their shared pursuit of knowledge and growth. The orientation session began, and the teacher skillfully guided the students through the curriculum, highlighting the importance of each subject and its relevance to their future endeavors. He emphasized the value of critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity, urging the students to approach their studies with curiosity and an open mind. The teacher imparted valuable information about the school's rules, regulations, and extracurricular activities. He emphasized the importance of academic excellence, personal growth, and fostering a supportive and inclusive community within the school. Yoon listened intently, her determination to excel renewed. She realized that even though she may not have studied as much as she would have liked, she could still make the most of her education. The teacher's words resonated with her, reminding her that academic success went beyond grades alone. It was about cultivating a love for learning, expanding her horizons, and developing valuable skills that would serve her well in life. Yume attentively listened, jotting down notes and absorbing every word. She realized that high school offered a wealth of opportunities for self-discovery and growth, and she was determined to make the most of her time there. Mizuto, sitting nearby, shared in her enthusiasm, eager to embrace the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead. As the orientation drew to a close, the students felt a renewed sense of excitement and purpose. They were ready to embark on this new chapter of their lives, armed with knowledge, aspirations, and the support of their peers. As the orientation concluded and the students began to mingle, Mizuto found himself approached by two of his friends who wore curious expressions on their faces. They exchanged greetings, and then one of them asked Mizuto which junior high school he attended. Mizuto was taken aback by the seemingly random question, but answered honestly that he went to Najimi Middle School. He then asked the boy why he asked such a question. His friends exchanged glances, hesitating for a moment before revealing their motive. One of them spoke up, saying that they were just wondering if he was into video games and that they thought it would be more fun if he joined them for gaming sessions. Mizuto chuckled softly at their assumption. He had never been much of a gamer, preferring to spend his time on other interests and activities. He confessed that he is not really into video games. He had tried them a few times, but they didn't quite capture his interest. His friends shrugged, accepting his response. They understood that different people had varying interests and hobbies. They carried on with their conversations, discussing games, strategies, and upcoming releases. Mizuto listened attentively, genuinely interested in his friend's enthusiasm, even though he didn't share the same passion for gaming. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Mizuto, the two friends spotted Yume and couldn't resist satisfying their curiosity. They approached her with mischievous smiles and whispered in her ear, "Is it true that you and Mizuto are step-siblings?" Shocked by their direct question, Yume's eyes widened and she fumbled for a response. The weight of their shared secret suddenly felt heavier, as the possibility of their past relationship being revealed sent a jolt of unease through both siblings. Mizuto, who happened to overhear his friend's whispered inquiry, froze in place, his mind racing with conflicting emotions. The realization that their secret might be exposed filled him with a mix of anxiety and apprehension. He contemplated the potential consequences and how they could impact their carefully crafted sibling dynamic. Caught off guard, Yume quickly regained her composure, putting on a brave face to maintain the facade. She smiled and replied, saying that they were just close friends and that they had known each other for a long time. Her voice quivered slightly, but her determined expression aimed to convince their inquisitive peers. Mizuto and Yume exchanged a brief glance, silently communicating their shared concern. They both understood the importance of keeping their true relationship hidden to avoid any unnecessary complications or judgment. In that moment, their resolve to uphold the charade grew stronger. Sitting alone near the school toilet, Mizuto's mind was consumed with thoughts about the recent developments regarding their secret as step-siblings. He couldn't help but wonder if Yume had inadvertently revealed their true relationship to everyone, despite their efforts to keep it hidden. Although he believed that their classmates would eventually figure it out, he was taken aback by the possibility that Yume had openly disclosed their secret. As Mizuto contemplated the situation, a group of students passed by, engaged in casual conversation. Their words caught his attention, particularly when one of them mentioned Yume's name, describing her as a real cutie. Mizuto couldn't help but scoff inwardly at their observation, feeling a mix of protectiveness and annoyance. He found it amusing that others were only now beginning to recognize Yume's charm, as if they had suddenly discovered something that he had known all along. Meanwhile, in another part of the school, two of Mizuto's friends engaged in their own conversation. One of them expressed his fascination with Yume, confessing that it was love at first sight for him. The other friend, curious about his intentions, asked if his plan was to get closer to Mizuto, her younger brother. The friend confirmed this, explaining that approaching Yume directly would likely result in rejection, and he believed that getting closer to Mizuto might offer an opportunity to connect with her indirectly. As Mizuto listened in on the conversation between the two friends in the restroom, his suspicions were confirmed. They were discussing their plan to approach Yume by going through him. A mix of frustration and disappointment washed over Mizuto as he realized that these friends intended to use him as a stepping stone to get closer to his sister. Feeling a surge of annoyance, Mizuto couldn't help but question their motives. He wondered if they genuinely found him annoying or if they were merely using it as an excuse to exploit their friendship for their own gain. He couldn't shake off the feeling that their sudden interest in him was solely based on their desire to get closer to Yume. The school closed for the day and everyone went back home. Mizuto's confusion deepened as he took in Yume's presence in his room. He closed the door behind him and walked further into the room, his brows furrowed. He asked Yume what she was doing there with a mix of curiosity and concern in his voice. Yume looked up at him, her eyes reflecting a hint of worry. She told him that she wanted to talk to him about what happened earlier. What happened earlier? She asked him with her tone laced with genuine concern, if he was upset about how those guys treated him. Mizuto's confusion gave way to understanding as Yume's words sank in. He nodded slowly, realizing that she was referring to the individuals who had approached him earlier, assuming he was an easy target to get closer to Yume. A tinge of frustration crossed his features as he realized their intentions. He told her that he knew who she was talking about, Mizuto admitted, his voice tinged with a mix of disappointment and annoyance. He told her that it was frustrating to think that they see him as nothing more than a means to get closer to her, as if he's someone they can manipulate. Yume's frustration mirrored Mizuto's. She leaned forward, her expression determined. She told him that's exactly what bothers her, her voice filled with a mix of anger and disappointment. She further tells him that those individuals lack the courage to approach her directly, so they see him as an opportunity to exploit their friendship. She told him it's disrespectful and shows how little they think of others. Mizuto nodded in agreement, feeling a sense of validation in Yume's words. Mizuto, while slightly taken aback by Yume's understanding of the situation, reassured her that she shouldn't let those individuals bother her. He dismissed their actions, remarking that they were not worth their time or attention. However, Yume responded cryptically, stating that while they might not be worth her time, Mizuto would be. This response puzzled Mizuto, leaving him with unanswered questions. Without elaborating further, Mizuto simply said, "What about him?" Yume fell silent, offering no immediate response. Mizuto, realizing that there was more to Yume's statement than met the eye, sighed softly and decided to leave the room. As Mizuto closed the door behind him, he couldn't shake off the weight of the conversation. His thoughts raced, contemplating Yume's words and the unspoken emotions lingering in the air. He couldn't help but wonder what she truly meant and whether there was a hidden message in her enigmatic response. The next morning, Mizuto and Yume found themselves walking side by side towards school. The air was filled with an unusual silence that made Mizuto curious about Yume's intentions. He stopped abruptly and turned to face her, breaking the quietness that surrounded them. Mizuto said, "Hey," seeking Yume's attention. Yume responded with a voice barely above a whisper. Mizuto reminded her that they had agreed to go to school separately. He expected a response from Yume, but she remained silent, her eyes fixed on the ground. Mizuto couldn't help but wonder what was going through Yume's mind. Was she contemplating something important? Did she have a change of heart regarding their agreement to keep their distance at school? His thoughts raced as he tried to decipher the reasons behind her behavior. As Mizuto and Yume arrived at school, they found themselves face to face with Mizuto's two friends. The friends, unaware of the recent tensions between Mizuto and Yume, approached Mizuto and invited him to hang out with them. Just as Mizuto was about to respond, Yume stepped forward and gently held Mizuto's hand, surprising both Mizuto and his friends. With a calm demeanor, she addressed the two friends and politely asked them if they could give her and Mizuto some time alone to talk. The friends, taken aback by Yume's unexpected presence and the revelation of their sibling relationship, were momentarily speechless. After a moment of silence, one of the friends managed to find their voice and stammered, asking if the two were brothers and sisters. Yume nodded and replied with a hint of self-awareness that indeed they are. She apologized if her actions gave them the wrong impression and said it seems she may have had a bit of a brother complex. Mizuto stood there, his mind racing to catch up with the unexpected turn of events. He couldn't help but admire Yume's boldness and the way she effortlessly took control of the situation. Her display of affection and honesty left him both surprised and intrigued. Yume's admission of having a brother complex surprised the two friends even further, but they quickly recovered from their initial shock. They exchanged puzzled glances, trying to make sense of the situation. One of them finally spoke up, hesitantly saying, "Well, if that's the case, they will leave him alone." He told them to take care of each other. Mizuto's friends walked away, leaving him and Yume standing together, their hands still intertwined. As the friends retreated, Mizuto finally found his voice and turned to Yume, curiosity filling his eyes. He asked her, what was that just now and why did she step in like that? In the evening, Yume and Mizuto were already home. Yume was drinking tea. She then checked her phone and said it seemed like her mom and Miniaki would be home late tonight. Mizuto asked her if he should make something to eat then. She asked him if he could cook. Mizuto stood in front of the open fridge, assessing the ingredients he had at hand. With an egg and a piece of fish, he contemplated what he could prepare for dinner. As he started to gather the necessary utensils and ingredients, Yume watched him curiously from the dining table, sipping her tea. Mizuto said with a mischievous grin, determined to prove himself that cooking isn't as difficult as it seems. Yume raised an eyebrow. She said, "Oh really?" She's eager to see what he comes up with. With a playful smirk, Mizuto accepted the challenge and got to work. He told her a little, saying that it was just for him and his dad after all. He then said that Yume is terrible at cooking. Yume ignored him and continued drinking her tea. She then asked him what he would be cooking, and he told her that he would see what was in the fridge and decide there. He opened the fridge, saw an egg and fish, and said that would need preparing. As Mizuto prepared the meal, Yume's mind wandered, reflecting on the earlier incident when she had held Mizuto's hands while confronting their friends. Lost in her thoughts, she didn't notice Mizuto tapping her shoulder to get her attention. He asked her, "What about breasts?" referring to the chicken breast he had found in the fridge. Yume, caught off guard by this sudden comment, let out a surprised scream, and instinctively held her own chest. Musito looked at her with a puzzled expression and asked what was wrong. He asked her if she had a problem with chicken breast. Embarrassed by her overreaction, Yum quickly regained her composure and shook her head. No, not really. It's just... Never mind. She told him that she was just startled. That's all. Musito chuckled, finding Yum's reaction amusing. He continued cooking, skillfully sautéing the chicken breast and adding complementary herbs and spices to enhance the flavors. The enticing aroma filled the kitchen, tantalizing their senses. Once the food was ready, Musito carefully plated the cooked fish and chicken breast, accompanied by the vibrant salad he had prepared earlier. He arranged everything neatly on the dining table, creating an inviting presentation. Yum and Musito took their seats at the table, ready to enjoy the meal. As they began eating, a moment of silence settled between them. Sensing that Yum still had something on her mind, Musito spoke up. Musito said that about that morning, she mentioned wiping the sensation from his hands when they hugged, and he said, why would he need to do that? Yum looked up, surprised by Musito's question. Her heart skipped a beat, unsure of how to respond. Finally, she managed to find her voice. Yum said it was an impulsive act and didn't want him to dwell on it, and the sensation in his hands from when she hugged him should be wiped from his memory. Musito said, that he has already forgotten about that. Yum was shocked to hear him say that he had forgotten about that. She then told him, I see. As Yum stood under the warm water of the shower, she couldn't shake off the lingering thoughts from their conversation at the dining table. The water cascaded over her, providing a comforting backdrop for her contemplation. Infuriating, truly infuriating, she muttered to herself, her voice barely audible over the sound of rushing water. Her frustration echoed in the tiled bathroom. How could Musito simply forget about their brief moment of connection? Did he find it so unimportant and so easily dismissed? The steam-filled air enveloped Yum as she continued to ponder. She couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions, hurt, confusion, and a growing determination to break through Musito's apparent indifference. She believed there had to be a way to bridge the gap and make him see her in a different light. As she finished her shower and wrapped herself in a towel, Yum's mind raced with ideas. She knew she had to find a way to capture Musito's attention and make him see her as more than just a stepsister. She wanted to break free from the confines of their sibling relationship and explore the possibility of something deeper. With renewed determination, Yum stepped out of the bathroom and began formulating a plan. She would show Musito a side of her he had never seen before, a side that was confident, independent, and captivating. She would engage him in conversations about their shared interests, seek opportunities to spend more time together, and leave an impression that he couldn't easily forget. She came out of the bathroom and put on a short towel, exposing her breasts and laps. She walked straight to where Musito was seated in the living room. He was having a cup of tea when she told him that he was going out. Immediately after he saw her, he coughed while sipping his cup of tea. Yum said in her mind that this worked better than she expected. He told her, what gives? She told him that she was in her own house and that it was not a big deal. He told her, no, what he is here. She sat down and said, so what if her brother is here? Or is he the kind of bad boy who would sneak a peek at his stepdaughter with lusty eyes? He looked at her in disbelief and ignored her. He sipped his tea again. Yum said in her mind that he was getting redder by the second that he turned away, but she could tell that he was looking. She then decided to switch legs. He looked at her and ignored her. Yum saw him and looked at her. She said he definitely looked good and was so easy to read. She said in her mind that to think that a guy who was always acting so cool-headed would lose his composure like that. Immediately, her towel was loose. She was afraid that he was going to see. She then opened her eyes so wide and said that it looks like she is trying to seduce him. She said that she thinks that she got too carried away. Musito dropped the cup of tea on the table. He stood up and walked straight to Yum. He removed his shirt from his body. Yum was afraid of what he was doing. She closed her eyes and opened them again. By the time she opened it back up, she was covered in Mizuno cloth. He told her that he knew she was just trying to mess with her, but didn't realize this might happen. He told her that she is usually so reserved, but every now and then she goes and does something outrageous like that morning. He further says that if she acts like that at school, she's going to lose the reputation she has made for herself. Yu shouted at him, saying that he is family now and that she can't stand people looking down on her family like that. Mizuto looked at her emotionally, scratched his head, and said thanks, which he appreciated. She looked at him angrily and Mizuto said, what does she want him to say? He had already graciously thanked her. She told him not to mention it. As their parents entered the room, Mizuto quickly tried to compose himself, his heart pounding from the intense moment that had just occurred. Yum, on the other hand, found herself hiding under the chair, her heart racing with a mix of embarrassment and anticipation. Their parents, unaware of what had transpired moments ago, greeted Mizuto and asked about their day. Mizuto nervously replied, trying to maintain a calm demeanor while keeping an eye on Yum's hiding spot. He hoped that their parents wouldn't notice anything out of the ordinary. As the conversation continued, Yum struggled to stay concealed under the chair, her mind racing with thoughts of the close encounter with Mizuto. She wondered how they had reached this point and what it meant for their relationship as step-siblings. Meanwhile, Mizuto, still feeling the lingering romantic tension between them, found it difficult to concentrate on the conversation with his parents. He stole glances towards the chair, trying to assess the situation and plan their next move. Their parents finally excused themselves, mentioning their tiredness from a long day. As they left the room, Mizuto let out a sigh of relief. Yum couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment as she listened to her parents' conversation. She had thought that perhaps, in that fleeting moment of vulnerability and attraction, she and Mizuto could have explored their feelings for each other without the fear of judgment or breaking the rules. However, with their parents' arrival, reality came crashing down, reminding them of the constraints they were bound by. Mizuto, too, was lost in his thoughts, contemplating the intensity of the emotions he had experienced just moments ago. He realized that he had been trying to move on from their complicated past, focusing on building a strong sibling relationship with Yum. Yet the incident had stirred up dormant feelings that he had tried to suppress. As their parents settled in for the evening, Yum and Mizuto exchanged glances. They both understood that the timing was not right and that pursuing their romantic feelings would only complicate their family dynamics. It was a bittersweet realization, knowing that they had to prioritize their familial bond over their personal desires. Yu said that if their parents had not come home, she was finally getting used to how things were. Mizuto was also lost in thought. He said, what was he thinking about that he had almost gotten over in the past? They both said that it is things like this that they can't stand for themselves.